Looking to escape the 9 to 5? Here are 3 things I did that helped me to escape the 9 to 5. I am Tiffany Thomas, your wealth mentor. I achieved financial freedom in my 30s and became a millionaire at 40. I'm here to help you do that even earlier and easier and without bias, since I do not work for any third parties. All right, let's dive in and talk about these 3 things that I did in order to help me escape the 9 to 5. The first one that I want to talk about is finding out the exact number, the exact amount that it would take in order for me to quit my 9 to 5 job. So in order to do that, I followed a very simple formula. All you do is take your annual expenses and multiply that number by 25, and that is going to give you the amount that you need to have invested in order to retire or become financially free. And when you are doing this, so I'll give you an example. Let's say your annual expenses are $40,000. So you will take $40,000 and multiply that by 25. That is going to give you $1 million. So you would want $1 million invested in order to quit that 9 to 5. But the nice thing is that if you have any passive income, you can subtract that amount of passive income from your total expenses. So if you have some rental properties, for example, and you're making $20,000 a year, then you could subtract your regular $40,000, or you would take your $40,000 and subtract that $20,000. So then you would only have your annual expenses be $20,000. And then you would multiply that number by 25, and you would need that amount invested in order to retire. So if you're looking to quit your 9 to 5, we need to do the math and figure out exactly how much it's going to take in order for you to have that amount of money invested so that you can completely quit your 9 to 5 job. But the second thing that I want to bring up is that we can actually start finding ways to replace this income. It doesn't have to be replaced all at once. We can start with one rental property and create an extra few $100s per month in passive income. And then we can, for example, create an online course and start selling that and generating revenue through a course. So there are a number of different ways that we can generate income. It doesn't just have to be through a 9 to 5 job. And once we create enough income to have the amount we desire, then we can actually quit that 9 to 5 job. So the way that I did this was to invest in real estate properties. I bought my own real estate property that I was living in, and I got 2 roommates. A lot of people call this house hacking. But essentially, you own the property and then you have other people that are living with you. And if you have a separate basement apartment, you can definitely rent out that and have it be completely separate from your living area. But I didn't have that option in the property that I purchased. So I had roommates. So we shared the kitchen and the living room area. And I bought a place that did have bathrooms in every single bedroom. So it was a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath townhouse. So we all had our own bathrooms, which was really nice. And then we just shared the common areas. But I was able to generate cash flow that way. I was able to start accumulating money passively because I had roommates living with me. And then I decided to purchase an investment property. And when I did that, I put tenants in that property and started renting it out. So I was creating cash flow from my rental property and then plus cash flow from my roommates that I had. And once I did that, I thought, oh, I need to buy another property. This is working really well. And so that's what I did. And I ended up moving into that next property that I purchased. And I left my roommates in my old place and replaced myself there, and then I also got roommates at my new place. So now I was generating even more cash flow because I had my very first property and I had tenants in there, and then I had my rental property and I had tenants in there, and then I had my new property and I had roommates living with me. So I was able to generate a lot of passive income. And this is the point where I had started hearing about people retiring early, about quitting their 9-to-5 job in their 30s or 40s, and some even in their 20s. And I thought, what? How are they doing this? And so I figured out my exact number that I would need in order to quit my 9-to-5 job. I figured out that amount. And luckily, the way that I did it was to create passive income. So I didn't have my full amount just invested in the stock market and start living off of those investments. I started living off of the income that I was receiving from my properties. And then I also invested in the stock market. So the stock market is a very easy way to invest your money and start watching it grow over time, and you can start withdrawing that money depending on what you have it invested in and where you have it invested. And if you are interested in the stock market and you want someone to guide you in order to help you figure this out, you can definitely work with me. I will leave a link below in the description. You can click on that link and check out the details on how to work with me and figure out the stock market so that you can quit your 9-to-5 job. But nonetheless, I started doing that. I started investing in the stock market, and by doing so, I was actually able to purchase my 4th property because I took money from my stock market investments and put that toward the down payment for that 4th property. So I was able to combine investing in the stock market and in real estate in order to quit my 9-to-5 job. And there are a number of different ways that you can quit your 9-to-5 job. Maybe you just want a part-time job, something more enjoyable, and then you can have a rental property. But you can look at different ways of creating income for yourself. It does not have to be through a typical 9-to-5 job. And that goes along with the 3rd step that I took, and that was to decide on which avenue I wanted to pursue. So I had looked at a lot of different things that I could do in order to create cash flow, in order to make some money besides having a 9-to-5 job. So the 2 that I chose were to invest in real estate and the stock market. And then I also wanted to start my own business because I didn't want to just be sitting at home doing nothing and being super bored. So I decided to start my own business and help people learn to invest their money, to manage it better so that they could become financially free and have that option to quit their 9-to-5 job. So I want you to think about all of these different options out there and decide what is going to work for you or what you want to pursue. And then learn those skills and start doing it so that you can quit your 9-to-5 job, especially if you are not happy at your 9-to-5 job. I know there are a lot of people that are unhappy, and it doesn't have to be that way. There are a lot of different ways to create income without having that standard 9-to-5 job. And that's what I did. I started learning the skills to invest in real estate and invest in the stock market. I started talking to one of my friends who is very successful with the real estate and with the stock market, and I asked him a lot of questions. And I was able to start on my own, start investing in real estate and create that cash flow, and then also invest in the stock market. And I also had an old boss that I worked with at my 9-to-5 job. And so I asked him a lot of questions because he also invested in real estate. So I started learning the skills and applying them, right? I started investing in real estate and the stock market. I didn't just continue to learn and soak in all of the information, but not take any action. And that is really key because sometimes we just like to consume all of this content and think we are learning so much, but then we aren't applying it. And if we aren't applying it, we are not going to be able to quit our 9-to-5 job. So comment below and tell me one way you are going to start creating a little extra income so that you can eventually quit your 9-to-5 job, because I am curious to know. And like I mentioned before, if you are interested in the stock market, then make sure and click that link below and in the description, and I can give you the details on how you can work with me. And if you found this video helpful, make sure and hit the subscribe button and hit the like button, and make sure and share it with someone else who would like to hear this information. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.